friends. Welcome to We're All Fine, the podcast that provides unsolicited advice and opinions from totally unqualified people. I am, as always, one of those unqualified people, Holly, and this is
Carley.
Hey, Carley. We are very excited for what we're going to be talking about. We're always excited about what we're talking about every day. Today, we're going to be talking about friendship.
Friends do stuff together.
Or more specifically, the trauma, the trouble of making new friends as an adult. And maybe I should have said that in a more positive way. Like the joy, the adventure.
Those are very positive. I don't know. It was almost nice to be like, as a child, you're like thrust into these environments with a bunch of strangers, and you all have like one common thing, which is school, right? And they even gave you like social times throughout the day that were mandated. You had 30 minutes of recess a day and a lunch table. Like
Truth.
that was so much easier to make friends. I don't know.
Well, also, you know, when you're a kid, it's not like you're dealing with a lot of other people's baggage or even bringing your own baggage to the table. I mean, at that point, your baggage is like you did not receive your snack pack the way that you usually did. And this has caused a real dilemma.
It's true. It's true. The pudding in my lunch sack was not what I wanted, Brenda. But I will say, though, I'm even more of a pain in the butt with that because I need to have friends that are just jaded enough too. I can't, if you haven't been through some shit, I can't relate to you. And so I need someone with a little bit of baggage, like baggage that works well with mine.
See, and that is just one of the many difficulties in making friends as a grown-up. So, Carley, why don't you start us off with something to make us feel better-ish?
I will. Well, and we'll talk more about this in the episode, but I've made some like pretty big life changes over the last year or so. Crutches, if you would call them that, I no longer use for social situations. So I've been really wondering how I'm going to make new friends if and when I decide I'm in the market for them. And then I was, you know, as one does in this day and age, looking up how to make friends as an adult. And I actually found out, even though it seems harder, it's easier today than it was decades ago. I found an article from 1952 that was I believe this is from an etiquette book, but then they put it into an article. And it is The Etiquette of Making Friends from 1952.
Oh, do tell.
And I did not realize how much of this I don't do. So the first one of the first ones that popped up to me that made me realize like it could be worse, everyone, is before you leave for an outing with your girlfriends, you should be putting on makeup. Primping in public is a big no-no, and friends don't want to be seen with people who are not put together.
Wow. Yikes.
Yeah.
I feel like I've done some people dirty. Right
then and there, right? Can I tell you how many times I've just been like, well, me and my friend are getting coffee. Sweatpants, messy bun. Here's another one. Make sure to bring a coat. If you are shivering or showing that you are uncomfortable in public, friends are not going to want to be with someone who doesn't know how to plan ahead for not only weather, but anything else.
So this friend that you would be hanging out with sounds like a complete asshole. Like I just, right off the bat, this does not sound like anyone I want to be friends with. If they see me shivering and their first thought is, you're making me uncomfortable watching you have needs. Why am I hanging out with this person?
Right. That's not a friend.
That's not a friend.
Like,
gross.
That is not okay. And then, here's another one. Before meeting up with your gal pals, remember that gossip is not only unbecoming of you, but it can also make people believe that you would say bad things about them.
Okay. You know what? This is a little bit of a double-edged sword because, I mean, I do like gossiping a little bit. I mean, clearly we have a podcast where we sort of talk about it, name free. But at the same time, there's certain kinds of gossip about when I hear enough people go, did you talk to so and so? That Margaret is a real blah, blah, blah. And I was her bestie yesterday, but today I want to tell you that I was faking it the whole time because she, blah, 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 Margaret. So,
Right. Like, if you're just this, like, mean, cruel, terrible person, like, okay, like, yeah, if you take it too far, sure. But they're also so I was just reading an article, and then I actually watched like a little like docu series. It was very short. It was a web series is the actual word that I'm looking for, about how gossiping is so villainized because the term gossip, or where it came from, was basically women educating other women about dangerous people in the community or how to take care of themselves, to basic hygiene things, or
I
telling them
heard
about sex.
this.
Yes. And so it was women,
Yeah.
like, it was this underground system, right? Because women were kept in the private sphere majority of the time, and they weren't able to discuss these things, right? And so when they did, it was in secret. And so the patriarchal system all of a sudden was so against what is known as gossip, which is just relaying information, usually about warning or taking care of oneself, to villainize it, because if there was a collective group of women that all knew who was unsafe and what was not okay, and I mean anything from sex to new perfumes
Mm-hmm.
and everything in between, then they had greater power within not only the private sphere, but also the public sphere. And so I feel like these best friend hangout tips were written by a man who didn't want women to be friends, because all of them are about competition that I don't think are even real. But, anyways,
You know what? God forbid women warn other women about, well, let's be real, men, or
yeah.
in some case, other women. So,
Right. So now I feel like it is my feminist duty to gossip. And I don't gossip about people in a mean way, but I will gossip about things that I feel like are going to help other women, men, theys, thems, and all of us. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to talk about it. If somebody's an asshole, I should be able to say that they're an asshole. Just like if somebody said, Carly was an asshole here, they have full right to do it. If people need to say something bad about me, I'm totally cool with that. 9 times out of 10, I recognized I was an asshole and I accepted it.
see, the only time that that goes into a bad space is if, Carly, you were being awful, and this person goes and tells other people, "Ooh, Carly was being awful," but they never mention it to you and
Fair.
tell you the exact opposite. Like, girl, you weren't being bad at all. You
Oh,
totally were, and you're right, blah, blah. That's where it gets kind of icky.
it's true.
But if someone is able to come to you and go, hey, Carly, you were being pretty awful.
Yeah,
Which I honestly, there's still so few people who are willing to do that.
it's true.
I know I've been a monster. Most people refuse to tell me to my face, you're a monster. But they will for sure tell a whole bunch of other people.
Fair.
So, yeah.
Fair. So basically, to sum all of that up, gossip can be helpful. It is my feminist duty to not allow the patriarchy to stop me from sharing knowledge with other women within whisper, or with a whisper, or in say it with your chest way. And I also am glad that this is not 1952, and I am worried that my friends will not like me if I don't pick, because there were other things from this.
Oh, you got to give us at least one more. Come
Okay,
on. This is really fun.
are you ready? You ready
Yeah.
for this one? Make sure when going out with your friends that you apply makeup correctly. Make sure you choose the right shade of rouge and the right shade of lipstick. You do not want to choose a color that would give anyone the wrong impression about you. Birds of a feather flock together, and women with lower inabilities and from certain communities will flock together as well. Don't be one of them.
That feels like underlining slut shaming and
100%.
also about socioeconomic
Yeah.
background.
Well, and like,
So if I wear too much rouge, I'm just having a whole lot of sex on the
yeah,
regular with
yeah,
anybody who looks my way.
yeah,
And it's all
basically,
from rouge? I had no idea.
yeah, rouge and lipstick. Rouge and lipstick. The wrong shade will give the wrong impression.
So ladies, know your colors. Are you a winter? Are you a summer? Are you a spring? Because you violate those color rules. You might as well
Yeah,
just sign up for every red light district.
yeah, you're gonna make your friend Linda look like a slut, I guess.
Ugh,
I don't know. I never knew my
poor
lips.
Linda. She
I
didn't
know.
even know.
No, she had no idea.
Her rouge and lipstick are great. She showed up with a coat,
Right.
and here you are with wrong rouge, bright lipstick. You came out in a short sleeve shirt, you
Right.
monster.
You monster. You didn't plan for weather. Clearly you're
Ugh.
disheveled.
Yeah, in a
Clearly.
messy bun.
Buh. Buh.
Talk about a bad friend.
Probably got a snag in your tights too, which tells me you can't handle my delicate feelings.
Oh God, shut your dirty mouth. We can't talk about that stuff anymore.
But basically, why I feel, if it's not obvious enough, that it could be worse is because if we have a world of knowledge, right? I had the ability to get on Google and say, how do I make friends as an adult? I didn't have to go to the local library or the local bookstore or one of these things to try to find friends. And the only resource I had was this book that says if you aren't fully together, if you don't look your best at all times, you're not going to have friends. How scary that would be. This false sense of competition, because a real friend doesn't care what you look like. A real friend is down to be around you no matter what. A real friend will listen to your stories of, you left a coffee cup in the backseat of your car and it grew an entire ecosystem. Isn't that gross? Ha ha ha. We're busy. Like, that is what real friendship is, not based off of looks or anything. It's what's on the inside that counts. And the competition that has been thrust upon women, we've talked about it before since almost the beginning of time. We have more resource. We have more resources now to be able to know what's okay and what's real and what's not, and also the ability to know that we can value ourselves enough to have healthy relationships.
I will say, well, all of that, it sounds amazing. And I 100% agree with you. It's so much easier said than done. How
Oh,
many times have you and I both, to even our closest people, been like, hey, if you're coming over, don't mind the mess? I
all the time.
say it to my best friends. I will say it I say it to anybody
Same.
coming over. My friends don't care. Their
Right.
houses are also in some form of dishevel. I found this great meme that was like, my housekeeping style is similar to, it looks like there's been an accident. Like that's kind of how I feel. And
Yeah. I
and
like
my
that.
friends, they don't care that I have, laundry out or whatever.
No, they don't. That's the thing. But we feel as though we have to, right?
Hmm.
And the way that making friends as an adult works for me in my head is it's like doing a cartwheel.
Go on.
Logistically, I know how to do it, right? So you put your hands in the air first and you put your leg out, right? Which is basically put yourself out there, dive into a social situation where you can have common interests, right? And then you pick up your foot and then you start to go into the cartwheel, right? And you hope for the best. So you build a little bit of like a back and forth with someone. It feels like you're doing okay, but you're not really quite sure what's going on. And then you trust yourself and you trust the situation. You kick your feet up in the air, you land it, and now you have a friendship. But here's the thing, I don't know how to do cartwheel. Like, I know how to
That
do it, but I can't do I cannot do a cartwheel.
Girl,
I
I'm
get
so
how
glad
to
you
do
said
it.
that. I've
I can't
never
do
done a
it.
cartwheel in my life.
No, that looks like you're gonna hurt yourself. It's just like climbing a tree. I've never climbed a tree. I know how to do it. I get it. I get how to do it. I could write a guide how to do
Oh,
it.
you've never climbed a tree?
No, because when I was growing up, we had this huge tree in my backyard, and my sister had friends over, and they were all 5 years older than me. And Christina, I don't remember her last name, but it's probably a good thing. Christina got too high in the tree and then was stuck. And it was like she was up there. We had a 20-foot ladder and it didn't even get to her. And
Oh
she
my
was stuck
gosh.
up there for forever. And we ended up having to get help. And the branch was starting to crack a little bit because of how high she was up there.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
was just sitting here as this 5, 6, 7-year-old thing going, no way, Jose. Because she climbed that thing like a spider monkey. She was like Tarzan would have been like, wow, tell me how you do that. And she got all the way up there and then couldn't get back down. So I decided, no, I will never do that. So I don't do cartwheels. I don't climb trees. I get how to do them, can't physically do it. And that's how I feel about making friendships as an adult.
Well, and that, I mean, that makes sense. I feel like that watching someone get stuck in a tree is also like the amount of time. I think I've told you before the amount of time that I'm watching true crime, and then it completely clouds anything that I do in real life because I'm always like, ooh, they seem really nice, but it's always the nice ones. So that's not super helpful for me. But
It is always a nice
I,
one.
I think one of the tough things about being an adult, making friends, is making time to develop friendships. Because as
Mhm.
it stands right now, when I want to have social time with people I've known forever who are already friends, we have to play the game of, okay, well, are you free 3 weeks from now on a Thursday? Well, I've got an hour and a half here, and that's already super tough to make that work. So the idea of
100%.
making a new friend, like it's exhausting because you have to foster it. It's like, having a new plant. Also a terrible analogy because I can't keep plants alive either, but it's because there's care that has to go in, especially in the beginning, to like build it up and then maintain. And that can be rough just because, time is it's really a hot commodity. I have really a sort of interesting thing. I was telling you off mic a little earlier. So I went out with a new friend yesterday.
I cannot wait to hear about this new friend. Tell me
Okay.
all about them. Tell me all about your new friend, Holly.
So I met this new friend. We were working on a project together, theater thing. And so that's how I met her and we worked together. And like in first meeting, she is absolutely delightful. Like she actually reminds me a lot of you. She's
Mm.
just like laid back and cool and quirky and funny, but like very genuine.
Mm.
So I have a habit of being maybe a little forward. Maybe that's weird. But the first time I met her and the very first meeting we had, at the end of it, I went, I really like you. And she goes, I like you too. And I go, we should hang out. And she was like, I was thinking the same thing. And I was like, great. Okay. Because sometimes I don't know how to not say that, or some people would be like, okay. But I don't know.
I
It just felt right.
love that. That's how we make friends as kids. I like your
I,
dinosaur shirt. Me too. Do you want to be best friends? Yup. That's all it takes. We just cut through the shit. So I
well,
like it. I like it.
see, that's why we're friends because like you like that and you're not like, all right, weirdo. So she and we had exchanged numbers, I think mostly for work related stuff, but
Okay.
she texted me and was like, hey, do you want to get together and have lunch? I know, totally out of the blue. And I went,
Yes, I do.
okay. And then, so I wanted to follow up to make sure it wasn't like a random, like, let's hang out as everybody does. So
Mhm.
I said, yeah, how about this day? And she was like, great. And I said, coffee, because just like, making new friends, dating, it doesn't matter. You have to always do the like non-committal,
Yes.
let's grab coffee, right? Because
Keep it
you limit
cash.
time, keep it cash. And she went, yeah, no, that's totally fine. But also, have you ever been to this awesome Mexican restaurant? They have great margaritas for lunch. And I went,
She's in it for the long haul.
day
She's
drinking for lunch. Yep, this is gonna be real. So I was like, yes, of course. So I met her at this restaurant, and which, by the way, like I knew in the beginning it was going to be okay because I had something come up. So I had to text like half an hour before we're supposed to meet where I was like, hey, can we push it out like another 15 minutes? Because
Yeah.
this thing came up. And she was like instantly, no problem. Did you need to do a different day? No, I'm good. But like super, super chill.
Right.
We get to this restaurant, which I'd never been to before. And by the way, amazing. It was like such good food. But she shows up and she's fantastic and awesome. And we're like sitting and talking, but it was so funny because the number of times she and I both would say things like, oh, is that weird? That's weird. Maybe I shouldn't have said that early on. Like it was very much like the very first friend date where you're second guessing
Yeah.
everything that you're saying because you go, ooh, maybe I should have eased you into that. Or, ooh, maybe that's, literally saying out loud, is that weird? That's weird.
Right.
I'm sorry.
My
Yeah.
heart wants to be myself.
But you don't know at that point, like if yourself is maybe too much,
Yeah.
even though you're having a margarita midday, you go, gosh, it's okay. And after enough of that, we got into the like being able to talk about, very like real things and sensitive things, and it was great. And she's like like really phenomenal human. But then at the end, so funny is we're like leaving, and like, oh my god, this is so great. We should do this again. And she's like, yeah, you get a hold of me for next time. And I got that like vibe. It wasn't like mean or anything, but the vibe where it was like, she needs to know that I'm not just saying that. Like, this was fun. Like, I
Right.
need to text for the next time so that it's dual sided. And it made me laugh because I thought, you know what? We as adults, like, we talk a big game all the time about, being able to interact with others and in professional environments, and like it's not a big deal, and I'm going to be my authentic self and blah blah blah. But when it truly comes to making a new friend by yourself, by the way, not necessarily in a couples scenario, which is always a completely different situation,
100%.
it's you have that. It is very much like first date energy. Like, oh, is that too
Yes.
much? Oh, did I wear the right thing? Oh, is this strange? Is that weird? Maybe this is too much for the
Right. Am
beginning.
I am I likable? Am I
Yeah.
Yep. Oh, 100%. 100%. Like I've been sitting here wondering, what advice can I give anyone? Because clearly this is not my wheelhouse. But I don't remember who said it, but it's always stuck in my brain ever since I've heard it. So if anybody knows whose bit of knowledge this is, please let us know. But the best thing you can do for yourself is when you walk into a room or when you meet someone first, stop wondering if they'll like you and actually decide if you will like them. And that sounds great. It sounds awesome. It sounds at least 2 sessions for me with my therapist to like figure out like how do I do that? How do I navigate that? How do I build confidence that's real, right? But I love that idea because how often do we do that? A room full of people or new friend date or one of the worst things in the world or for my anxiety is going to a party of someone I'm very, very close with. And I know our relationship, but we don't share the same group of friends or
Oh, yeah.
acquaintances, right? So you are comfortable in their home, you're comfortable around their family, comfortable around spouse, you and them have shared secrets, all the things. And then you walk into a social thing in their house and you don't know anybody except for that person. Woo, red alert, run, like, no, thank you. I got to get out of here. I'm uncomfortable. I don't know anything. I hate that. So if I could get the confidence or get the blase da mentality of, well, I'm I'm just gonna be me and we'll see if I like all of these people around me. Maybe I can have way more genuine friendship. I don't know. I don't know.
Well, Carly, in that situation, and I hate to bring in some of the like how to win friends and influence people shenanigans because some of that is a little culty, but
Right.
there's some stuff that's been tried and true. And again, I just had that scenario weirdly last weekend. I went to a celebration at a new neighbor's house, and I knew the neighbor from like one other time, and I knew one other person at this get together. The rest was all family and friends I'd never met before. So here's what I do. This is my secret.
I'm ready.
First, put yourself in a spot where you are comfortable, where you can sit, not like stand against a wall. Okay. So
Ooh,
find a
okay.
chair, a table, a stool, or whatever, where it's in a generally high traffic area. Okay.
Okay.
And then B, because the thing is that you now become a permanent part of that space. Because if you are on the chair can't move, neither can you. You are now in that space. Second thing is whoever is around you, if they are, around you for longer than like 60 seconds,
Yeah.
find something that is clearly like a standout on them. Sometimes mine's a little aggressive, but at this one, there was somebody where I was like, I go, oh my gosh, your hair is so beautiful. Is that naturally curly?
Oh.
And she went, oh, it is. And I was like, wow, with someone with super straight hair, I would love that. So I immediately directed at them and started with a compliment and then got their name. And then I started using their name excessively in the conversation. So, if it's like Sandra, like,
Right.
oh, Sandra, it's so nice to meet you. So tell me, how do you know so and so? Oh my gosh, Sandra, that's crazy because I met them at blah, 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 blah. So tell me, Sandra, blah, blah. Like you start using that name
Yeah.
enough times that it actually sort of ingratiates them to you in that very short period of time. And then
That's
once you've
crazy.
done that, it gets rid of the uncomfortableness and then you guys can start having real conversations. But they decide after that time that they love and adore you because you started by saying something wonderful to them, used their name 1,000 times.
Right.
And so they're now comfortable getting to know you as well.
I was like,
is my screen frozen or is she
no, I froze.
processing? I can't.
That is okay. So a lot is happening in my little brain right now. One, compliments have always been my go-to to people when I like first get them. So that makes me feel like I'm doing great already.
Totally.
Two, I'm realizing how much people around me have in common with my dogs because they also like hearing their names all the time. And I love dogs, so maybe that will help me like people more.
Well,
We're just weird two-legged dogs just trying to be friends.
it's
I
weird
like
that you
that
say
more.
that because that's actually an entire chapter in how to win friends and influence people is about dogs. I know, seriously, because they talk about how like we as people, we love dogs because dogs love you regardless. Like they're
Yep.
always excited to see you every time. Doesn't matter if you've been gone 5 minutes or 5 days. Like they're just super stoked to see you all the time. And if you incorporate some of that into who you are as a person, so just excited to see people every time you see them, it's amazing how people will they just fall in love with you because you're always excited to see them. Yeah.
I like that. I like that. The angsty teenager in me is like, ooh, if people know that you like them more than they might like you, don't you do it. Don't do it. Play it cool, kid. But I have
But
always
again,
had such a hard time playing it cool. I don't like
but this
to.
is with friends. I mean, this is the thing is you don't want to be fake with people. But,
No.
with people I like, every time it's like, oh my gosh, it's so good to talk to you. Oh, I've missed you. How are you? Wow. It's so good,
Right.
and because I really am like happy to see them. I'm just not putting a filter on it.
Right. No, but that's basically what I'm saying is I'll have that excitement, but I put the filter on and it's not as bad as like a 14-year-old boy who just like nods his head real quick like sup. But like I think I do filter it. So knowing that it would be safe in the world, right?
Mhm.
To have people know. I've always been afraid. This is a very vulnerable moment. I'll let everyone have this because I've actually worked through it. I have always been afraid of people knowing that I might like them more than they liked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know why. I don't know where that came from. I've always had very solid, very, very close bestie friends, and then I've had acquaintances, but I've always struggled in the friend, just the gray, beautiful area, right?
Sure.
Because what if you don't like me and I think you like me, or I like you way more than you like me? And it was this very complex thing. And I have now been able to work through and have what my therapist calls radical acceptance of how I feel about people and how they might feel about me. No matter what it is, I can accept it. And I like the term radical because it makes me feel like I'm doing something dangerous.
Oh,
So I'm more inclined to do it,
my.
right? Like radical acceptance. I'm sitting here in my radical womanhood of liking people. Like, I like it. And so it made it easier. That one adjective, I was like, oh, cool. But I've always been so worried about that. So knowing that maybe I don't have to try to filter that now is actually that's a really handy tool to put in my belt, because like I said earlier, I've always considered myself an introvert, and then all of the people around me always say, no, you're an extrovert. But what it was, I think, is my uncomfortability and my anxiety in social situations plays off as excitement or bubbly or those
Mhm.
things that we look for in people. So I'm someone where all of a sudden the waiter asks for the order, and then we've been sitting and talking for 5 minutes about City League for our kids and how we hope our kids are going to be on the same team next year. Right.
Yeah.
And I
Hmm.
love that. That's how I've always been. Or a new neighbor would move in and I would wave to them and they would ask me a question, and now, we are best neighbors ever, but it never gets past that point. It never gets past the point of waving kindly and being like, that's a good neighbor.
But that's okay. Like,
Right.
and that's the thing is,
I like
when
that.
you said earlier, it's about, deciding that are they going to be someone you like instead of wondering if you're going to be someone they like. If
Hmm.
you keep that in your mind, that if you happen to like them more than they like you, okay.
Right.
Like it, it doesn't have to be like the likeness level doesn't necessarily have to be even. And
Right.
maybe at some point it grows into that. And isn't that great?
Right.
But if you don't know, maybe that person, like you said, is having difficulty opening up. And so
Yep.
they like you, but they can't like you as much as you do because they're struggling to open up or allow that. Like it shouldn't stop you from really enjoying their friendship and putting into
Right.
it. Now, if it's like what we talked about earlier with like the bad gossiping, where you're like, I think we're super close, and they're taking any of their other time to be like, ooh, Carly, she sucks, but I pretend to be her friend,
Right. Just
then
just for the
that's,
fun of it. Well, of course. Of course. And that's the thing, is now I'm at a point it's so strange. So now I'm at a point in my life where if I like you, I like you. And how you feel about me has nothing to do with it. There's no interaction, right? So
mhm.
I think I'm primed for better, funner relationships, right? Because there's way less ego in it, maybe.
Sure.
Um, but here's my problem. I've always, like I was saying, I was always someone who could find a new friend at the bar, drinking with people. And I have now been sober for a year plus, over a year. With no
Congratulations. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really like it. Never thought this would be my path. I didn't hit a rock bottom. I just didn't drink and then kept not drinking. And I was like, oh shit, this is cool. So I don't know. So that took out one of the easiest places. Partying is where I have made or met or solidified some of my best friendships. Like I have held I have held the scarves and necklaces of my dearest friends in dive
Thank
bar
you for bringing
bathrooms.
that up.
No one knew I was talking about you.
Whatever. They
No
know.
one knew. I have held Brittany's hand as she cried because Kevin sucks and was flirting with Angelica, and we
Damn,
became
Kevin.
lifelong friends. I know, Kevin, such a dog.
Friggin' Kevin.
So partying and drinking and kind of that, like, has always been where I've helped build or create friendships. And I can still go to bars and still do all of those things, but I mean, when I'm a little buzzed, I just want to sit there for 15 minutes and tell you how much I love you. I want to tell you every good thing about you. And I can do that sober, but I don't know. Anyways. And then I used to be really heavy in theater and in arts communities and stuff like that. And right now I'm needing to take more time to do my own thing and to take care of myself. And
Hmm.
so I don't know. I'm working from home, focusing on family. So I don't know how to make those friendships, right?
Yeah.
And again, it's the cartwheel thing. I know. I just need to put myself out there. But I'm just like, couldn't like the best friends stork just like drop a couple of friends by? We can
Well,
have brunch.
it makes me realize what I need to do is have a party and then just invite friends from all my different circles over. So all my friends can make new friends with my other friends.
Right. Which is
And I
very
would like that.
nice, I'm sure.
No,
I
it could
don't
work.
know. Yeah,
I mean,
that sounds
some of
great.
my friends in different segments I think would hate each other, but I think there could be some good ones.
Right. That could be fun too, learning.
And that, by
Learn.
the way, introducing your friends in different circles, that's a whole different episode.
Oh, it's a whole
So
different episode. So scary, so
yeah,
hard.
let's move to our crowning moment for today, shall we?
Love this.
Okay, here we go. I hold community for others and am held in community by others.
Mm.
I hold community for others and am held in community by others.
Yeah, recognizing that we are all a part of the collective, I think is
Mhm.
really beautiful and important. And we can be nurtured in that and we can nurture others in that. Mm. That is a good crowning moment. That might be my favorite one so far. I
Aw.
really enjoy that one.
All right. Well, I think that this is like a perfect ending then for today. Carly, you
So
want to be my friend?
yes, Holly, we can be like go steady friends, meaning like
Yes.
you're stuck with me now.
Okay. Well, hopefully you'll wear my pin. That's
Oh
the
my
kind of
gosh.
friend.
I'll get you a corsage every year for our
Stop it.
friendship anniversary. Let's decide when that's going to be.
Oh my God, this is beautiful. Well, listeners, if you would also like to be our friends, we would love to be your friends. And the easiest way to do that is go ahead and find us on social media. So check out our Instagram at We're All Fine Podcast, on Facebook at We're All Fine Podcast, and also you could email us, which is, guess what? We're All Fine Podcast at Gmail. We make it super easy for you guys. So send us a line. We would love to be your buddy. We would love to hear from you. Drop your feelings. And of course, any of your dilemmas or questions, we'd love to hear that as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
Well, thanks, friends. We love you. See you next time.
Bye.